The history of psychology is part of an even older story. It is one in which the human species has sought to understand the world and to understand its own nature. Records of inquiry into the nature of mind dates back to ancient Egypt, Persia, Greece, China, and India. Its origins lie within mystical and religious perspectives. Psychology from a rational perspective dates back to ancient Greece. Here, philosophers tried to understand their own thought processes and how to direct them so they could better understand reality. The present modern definition of psychology is defined as the scientific study of mental processes and behavior. Psychology remained a branch of philosophy until only recently. Wilhelm Wundt founded the first laboratory dedicated to psychological research. William James became the American originator of pragmatism. In Vienna, Sigmund Freud developed an approach to the study of the mind called psychoanalysis. Mental illness was the last type of illness to be treated rationally. For thousands of years, the mentally ill were treated as outcasts, thought to be possessed by demons, and locked away and treated with great cruelty. During the 19th century, these treatments were discarded as doctors began to understand the central nervous system. Scientific knowledge of the workings of the mind changed profoundly in the 1900s. This was largely due to Sigmund Freud, who stressed the importance of the unconscious. This was a new idea for the time, one which forces within the mind, outside of our awareness, affected human behavior and our experience.
Ich bin ein Haus. In mir ist es dunkel. Mein Bewusstsein ist ein einsames Licht. Alles andere liegt im Schatten. Alles andere liegt im Unbewussten. In diesem Haus, das ich bin. Trieb, Eros, Tabu, verbotene Gedanken, verbotene Begierden. Erinnerungen, die wir nicht im Licht sehen wollen, die wir verdrängt haben aus dem Licht.
One backlash against psychology came from behaviorists, who considered concepts such as mind to be too vague to study scientifically. Behaviorism emphasized only the study of overt behavior, as this was the only thing that was thought to be easily measured. This involved the notion that human beings could be explained largely without appeal to thoughts or feelings. This presented the view that people, and even language, could be explained as the result of stimulus response and conditioning. A backlash against behaviorism grew from its limitations to explain human behavior. Many argued that we needed a better, clearer understanding of what was happening inside the mind. It was argued that we needed explanations of how the mind processed information. This need for information processing explanations is what ignited the beginning of cognitivism. An early researcher in cognitive development, Piaget showed that children's cognitive processes were largely a result of the maturation of their brains. Chomsky showed that innate cognitive processes structured how humans learn and use language. Further researchers added to the view that humans are not the programmed animals of behaviorists. Our actions, say cognitivists, are the consequences of our thoughts. Methods such as cognitive behavior therapy see mental disorders as the result of distorted thinking, and that by correcting our thoughts, we can improve our well-being. This revolution in thinking came about by beginning to understand the mind as the product of informational processes. One of the forefathers of the cognitive revolution was Alan Turing, a mathematician and codebreaker during World War II. In his seminal paper, Turing began to lay the groundwork for thinking about mental processes in terms of computation. This theory holds that, like a computer, the mind is made up of symbols and of operations acting upon them. This groundbreaking idea is called computational theory of mind. This idea lies at the heart of cognitive science. It is the hypothesis that cognition can be understood as computations acting on representations. This computational metaphor can be useful even as an analogy. For instance, the neural level forms the hardware. The neural level processes information and gives rise to the computational level. The computational level further processes information and gives rise to the knowledge level. This new way of thinking is providing us with a powerful new way of understanding the mind. Instead of psychological processes remaining nebulous, we can begin to look through a computational lens to clarify definitions and to illuminate mental phenomena. And yet, computational thinking is not enough. It is but one part of a web of different approaches. Each school of thought has an important role to play in understanding the mind. The field of cognitive science is a partnership between different ways of looking at the mind. No single approach contains all the answers, but through our collective effort and through the sharing of knowledge, we can make progress together.